Good afternoon, everyone. I am Varsha Venu, final year student of KVG College of Engineering, Sulya. Today I am here to present my report of internship, and this is my report. Contents are reading of construction drawings, construction methodology, BOQ specification, project planning, sequence of construction, role of quantity surveying and procurement in construction management, rate analysis, bar bending schedule, IS 1200, and webinar attended on construction finishes. Reading of construction drawings. Before that, we need to know what is construction drawings and why these are used. Construction drawings are used to communicate the architectural and engineering design of construction projects. Reading of construction drawings is gathering of information from drawing, and it involves two principal elements. Visualization and interpretation means the ability to understand lines, symbols, dimensions, notes, and other information on the working drawings. So there are mainly five different types of construction drawings are there. First one is architectural drawings. It contains all the details of the project such as site plan, elevations, sections and other details. And structural drawings. Structural drawings mainly contains column layout, excavation layout, plinth layout, and electrical drawings. This represents the details of electrical fixtures, location of switches, etc. And plumbing drawings. Plumbing drawings shows the location of sanitary piping for water supply system. And last one is finishing drawings. This contains floor patterns, painting colors, etc. And in construction drawings, we can see title blocks. Title blocks typically contain information that identifies the project, its location, the name of the client, the designer's name, address, name of name or initials of the drafters and checkers, revision blocks, and space for professional seals. These blocks are generally placed along the bottom right side of the drawing sheet. Then is notes. Notes are used for the identification of features or information that cannot be conveyed by the drawings or a symbol. This is more of a codes and bylaws of the building. No drawing is found in this, but the details of all the structural drawings are mentioned in this, such as concrete mix, lapping length, curing time, abbreviations, codes, and other work procedures. And abbreviations. Abbreviations for words and short phrases are often used in construction drawings. These are used to communicate the details and characteristics of the drawings. Next is graphic symbols. Graphic symbols are used in construction drawings as a pictorial shorthand to reduce the drawing time and the coordinate separate drawings. Symbols are divided into several types such as line symbol, electrical symbol, material symbols, etc. Legends. Construction drawings legends combine graphic symbols with notes. Legend should be conveyed and graphically presented as small as possible on the sheet, yet easily readable in the field by the builder. Dimensioning. Dimensioning involves incorporating numerical values in a drawing to accurately locate the size, various objects, and assemblies in the building and interiors. Dimension lines and arrows are used to identify exactly where the dimension begins and ends. Dimensions are required on all construction drawings and must be accurate, complete, and readable. Purpose of issue. The seal good for construction is important for the initiation of construction project. It is generally present at the middle bottom of the drawing sheet. Schedule of drawing. This is an itemized list of drawings required for the building project. Schedule, Schedule of drawing may include all the drawings required for a project. This contains door schedules, windows, everything will be contained in schedule of drawings. And next one is construction methodology. It is a form of document wherein it states the procedure of an activity at the site including safety. Methodology includes the temporary and permanent works at the services required to complete the construction works. Excavation. Excavation is the process of moving earth, rock, or other materials with tools, equipments, or explosives. It is the preliminary activity of construction project. Excavation procedure for foundation construction requires site clearance, setting out excavation, and safety measures based on the depth of excavation. And mass excavation. Excavation is the removal of large amount of materials using big machines or an extended period of time within a deadline. Working procedure of excavation is like first we want to clear the site. Next, we want to laying down the excavation lines and center lines on the ground before the excavation is started. Maximum of 4 and minimum of 2 benchmark are marked in the corner of the measurement of level. With reference to the drawing, the depth of excavation is fixed. And excavation is done by manual or machines like excavator, bulldozers. The, and the excavated soil is to either removed out the site or stocked around in the excavation pit. Minimum 1 meter distance is maintained between the stocking of excess soil and the pits so that the due to rain or other forces, soil should not be swept into the pits. And dressing of excavated pits to be done as specified in the drawings, and dewatering provided if needed. All the sides of building must be sealed for the safety purpose. And next is dewatering of excavation. Construction of foundation below the subsoil water level poses problems of waterlogging. It is therefore very often necessary to dewater the area of excavation. There are various reasons that enforce dewatering of foundation excavation, such as to keep excavation bottom dry, prevent groundwater or soil leakage, prevent sand boiling, to prevent upheaval failure, and prevent basement flotation. There are four important dewatering methods one should aware of. First one is well point method of dewatering. This method features easy to installation and it's relatively cheap and flexible, being practical and effective under most soil and hydrological conditions. Wells are drilled around the construction area and pumps are placed into those wells. This method is effective in sands and sandy gravels. Next one is inductive well method. This system is specialist technique used in low permeability soils such as very silty sands and silts or clay. And the third one is open sump pumping method. It is a reliable choice in a wide range of situations. It is the simplest and cheapest and most effective dewatering method. A sump is a hole or an area in the ground deeper than the basement floor where water is collected and then pumped away for disposal. And the last one is deep well method. When a deep excavation is needed and a large quantity of water is required to be removed, dewatering may be done by constructing deep wells in soils or rocks where permeability is between moderate to high. And next is soil nailing. Soil nailing technique is used to reinforce soil to make it more stable. Added to that, it is used for slopes, excavation, retaining walls, etc. to make it more stable. In this technique, soil soil reinforced with slender elements such as reinforcing bars which are called as nails. These reinforcing bars are installed into pre-drilled holes and then grouted. Moreover, these nails are installed at an inclination of 10 to 20 degrees with vertical. As the excavation proceeds, the shotcrete, concrete, or other grounding materials are applied on the excavation phase to grout the reinforcing steels or nails. Next one is formwork. Formwork is a temporary mold into which fresh concrete and reinforcement are placed to form a particular reinforced concrete element. It supports the part or the whole of a permanent structure until it is self-supporting. Formwork construction should permit the removal of various parts in desired sequences without damage to the concrete. Footing forms. The first step for the any concrete construction start with the construction of foundation. Foundation can be for columns or walls. Based on the type of structural member, the shape and the size of the footing are decided. Thus, formwork size and shape depends on the type and dimension of footing. Next one is column forms. Reinforced concrete column forms are subjected to lateral pressure because of their small cross section, large heights, and relatively high rates of concrete placement. Thus, it is necessary to provide tight joints and strong tie support to the formwork. As the sizes of concrete column increases, the stiffness of the formwork must be increased by either increasing thickness of sheathing or vertical stiffness must be added to prevent sheathing deflection. Next is BOQ specification. Bill of quantities is one of the communication tool which connects the parties of construction project. It is important to know that cost and indirect cost are to be considered for the complete cost of the project which are covered in different part of BOQ. The main sections included in the BOQ are form of tender, information, requirements of pricing schedule, professional sums, and day works. For the preparation of BOQ, five main components are to be considered. Item description, unit, quantity, rate per unit, total amount. Generally, BOQ is in a tabular form which contains description, unit, quantity, rate, and amount in different columns. So, the importance of BOQ is it provides the basic idea of the project by giving the quantities to the tenders and it defines the extent of work. Next one is project planning. Project planning is the initial and most important phase of project management. Planning comprises defining objectives of the project, sequence of works, construction methods, planning of resources, preparing estimation, and duration for various activities to bring about the satisfactory completion of project. It can also be said that it is a equation by which we can reduce undesirable effects or unexpected happenings and thereby eliminating confusion, waste, and loss of efficiency. Objectives of project planning. First one is planning of each activity. The construction project planning should be identify and include every activity of the project in a sequential order. Every activity should be scheduled in a timeline for tracking of construction project. Next one is construction method. Plans should be include construction method to be adopted for different construction activities, and the tools and the planning for tools for enough for each activity so that they can be made available whenever required. Planning for construction equipments and machinery. Cost of construction varies greatly with the use of construction equipments and heavy machinery, as their renting cost could be very high per day. Projects should be planned in such a way that the use use of these machinery can be made to maximum during the given period to make it cost effective. Procurement of materials. Project planning should include procurement planning for materials to complete the project within budget. It is not advisable to keep that materials unused for site for a long time. Planning for employee skills. Some of the construction activities require skilled person for execute some works, and it's not necessary to employ such person throughout the project. So proper planning of such work can reduce the cost of operation for that activity. And sixth one is planning for required documents and drawings. Construction projects are executed based on the drawings and specification. It is necessary to track and make available these drawings at site on time so that the construction activities are not stopped. And last one is financial planning. Important aspects: proper planning of funds for construction helps the project proceeding smoothly. And types of project planning. There are several types of project planning. The three major types of construction project planning are strategic planning. This involves the high level selection of project objectives. In this, they decide what project to build and when the completion date has to be meet the owner's project goals. Operational planning. This involves the detailed planning required to meet the strategic objectives. Scheduling. This puts the detailed operational plan on a time scale set by the strategic objectives. Next one is sequence of construction. The sequence of work to be followed in the construction of a building is the utmost important procedures of construction. The major sequence of construction are marking, excavation, concreting, brick masonry, roof laying, flooring, and finishing. First one is getting the drawings. All project requires drawings before the start of actual construction. Drawings will include footing layout, column center line layout, plinth beam details, and architectural plan. Second one is marking of footing layout. The approved plan boundaries are marked in the ground first, and the ground inside and outside the layout is cleaned. Later, the complete layout is marked on the ground with accurate dimension and orientation. The third one is excavation. This should be carried out as per the drawings define length and width. Suitable machines are used to excavate the earth for the marking of foundation. Fourth one is foundation work. In foundation work, we have four different categories. First one is compacting the ground. The excavation pits are trimmed and dressed as per the requirement, and the bottom is compacted using hand compactors. Second one is PCC, to form a solid basis on which the reinforcement can be tied and footing can be placed. Plain cement concrete of the mix 1 is to 4 is to 8 or 1 is to 3 is to 6 is laid on the compacted soil in varying depth as required. Fourth one is footing reinforcement. Reinforcement steel bars are tied together and placed on the PCC to form a skeleton in which the concrete is poured and the column rods are taken from them. Shuttering. To achieve proper shaped concrete, shuttering is done as per the dimensions mentioned in the drawing. Fifth one is footing concrete. It is necessary to check the levels of foundation before the concrete work. There are patches where excavated depth slightly exceeds and vice versa. Concrete is poured as per the drawing specs. Column casting. Casting of columns is made by fixing the shuttering framework and concrete is poured in the formwork. Construction of walls. Before starting the wall construction, the base of wall is constructed first using concrete or sandstone masonry. Necessary opening are to given for doors, windows, and ventilators. Lintel. Masonry work for buildings is carried out in one go till roof. RCC beams are laid down on the top of the openings, so those loads of structures above openings are not directly come on the door of frames. Roofing. Roof slab is, roof slab of building is poured after completion of masonry work. Plastering, plastering work. Mortar of plaster work is generally of 1 is to 3 or 1 is to 4 is used. Thickness of the plaster layer should not be more than 0.75 inch. Cure the surface about 7 days so that the plaster gain proper strength. Fixing of doors and windows. Fixing of doors and windows are very important. Traditionally, doors and windows of woods are used, but steel and aluminum is not a bad choice. In case of wooden doors and windows, frames are fixed in the walls during masonry works, panels and then fixed with hinges after plaster work. Steel and aluminum doors are fixed after completion of paint works. And fixing of electrical and plumbing works. The necessary electrical and plumbing works are carried out before the final finish works, such as painting and tiles laying is done so as to reduce damage. Tiles laying. First the wall tiles are fixed, after which the floor tiles are fixed. Painting. Painting consists of different sequences depending upon the type of finishes required. Miscellaneous works, terrace waterproofing, landscape work, false ceiling, installation of furniture. Next one is role of quantity surveying and procurement in construction management. Quantity surveying is broadly concerned with the estimation, planning, and control of the cost on construction project. The surveyor is a valuable resource for any construction project that ensures timely delivery of the project with minimal effect on expenses. They make sure that the financial position of construction project is accurately reported and controlled effectively. They manage the contractual relationship between the various parties involved in any particular building project. So, what does a quantity surveyor do? Advising the advising on the potential of a site and working out what a client can afford to build, often termed feasibility, presenting detailed information on the cost of particular elements of work on a periodic basis to enable payment for those works carried out to date. This process is known as valuation, organizing the division of project into component work packages, then awarding these work packages to smaller, more specialized construction companies, and in that process finding out who offers the best deal. Dealing with contractual and legal matters, managing costs to make sure that the initial budget isn't exceeded, arranging staff payments, and at the end of jobs, settling the final account, acting as financial advisor and monitoring progress for the client. Procurement management. Construction management procurement is defined as a being the art and manner of securing necessary goods and services with an eye to timeless, acceptable quality, respect of financial parameter, minimizing and mitigating risk, effective communication and administration, and last but certainly not least, ensuring client satisfaction by understanding their dreams. All of this can be submits under the word value, getting clients what they need at the acceptable price, reliable schedule, and without unnecessary risk. The process effectively begins with the procurement of the initial project team. Procurement in construction management is usually divided into four major processes: planning, selection, administrating, and closing procurements. The planning process. The planning process involves the creation of official procurement managed plan. The decision made involve which items will be internally procured and which items will be externally outsourced. This information in turn will heavily impact the project budgets and financial scorecard. Selection process. The selection process involves comparing and contrasting vendors, advantages, disadvantages, and contract offerings. Standard tools and techniques are used to select procurement, such as video conference with writers that allows them to understand the project requirements and ask questions. The administration process, the third major step in administration, which refers to the tools and process used to manage relationship with vendors. The administration phase results in the continual creation of procurement documents and spreadsheets that may drive project changes. The administration process is extremely important, so it's usually managed through supply chain or project management software. The closing process. The closing process isn't just about ending procurement contract. It's about noting weakness, documenting successful process, and summarizing the project for future needs. During the closing process, negotiations may be necessary to resolve contract disputes. Ideally, potential issues will be noted during the administration process in order to begin the mediation process early. Next is rate analysis. Rate analysis is the determination of cost of each construction work per unit quantity. This cost includes the cost of material, labors, machinery, contractors' profit, and other miscellaneous petty expenses required for the particular work to complete in unit quantity. The cost of materials in rate analysis is calculated as composite combination of cost of material at origin, its transportation cost, taxes. Rate of labor is based on skill of the labor, such as skilled labor, semi-skilled labor, and unskilled labor. The cost of materials and labors vary from place to place. The cost of each construction work varies from place to place. Purpose of rate analysis. The main purpose of rate analysis are the following: to determine the current rate per unit of an item at the locality, to examine the viability of rates offered by contractors, to calculate the quantity of materials and labor strength required for the project planning, to fix up labor contractors rate. Why rate analysis required in construction project? For purpose of tendering, in case of tendering, the contractor may calculate cost of unit work involved in each construction activity for justified quoting of rates. The client may also require rate analysis to calculate the cost of construction project, to assess the requirement of quantity of labors, materials, machineries, and capital to complete the project, and to find out the irrational rates quoted by the contractors during the tendering process, to work out the budget of the construction project and control the cash, cash flows at various stages of construction work, to optimize the use of labor, materials, and machinery, and to know the alternative to optimize the resources. Next one is barbending schedule. Barbending schedule is a detailed list of bend reinforcement bars given in a structural concrete element. Bar bending schedule contains bar mark, diameter, length, shape, and weight. A bar bending schedule helps site engineer to estimate required quantities of various diameter of bars used in construction, and it helps the engineer to check the reinforcement work done by the contractor. Advantages of bar bending schedule in construction. It provides better estimation of reinforcement used in each structural concrete member, and it helps engineer in the procurement of reinforcement steel and better stock management. Bar bending schedule provides exact estimated quantity required. So at a construction site, wastage can be controlled by carefully supervising of the contractor with the help of bar bending schedule. Bar bending schedule makes cutting, bending of reinforcement easy at a factory and can be directly transported to the construction site. This will not only reduce the wastage of reinforcement steel but also help us reduce labor cost. This helps site engineer or quality inspector to check and approve reinforcement work with better quality control. And how to prepare bar bending schedule is like identification of members and count the number of bars, calculate the length of reinforcement bar, calculate the unit weight of reinforcement bar, and last calculate the weight of particular shape of bar. Next one is IS 1200. IS 1200 was adopted by the Bureau of Indian Standards after the draft finalized by methods of measurement of building and civil engineering works. Measurement occupies a very important place in the planning and execution of any civil engineering work from the time of first estimate to the final completion and settlement of payments for a job. Methods followed for measurements are not uniform and considerable differences exist between parties followed by the different construction agencies. Rules for measurement. The rules for measurement of each item are invariably described in IS 1200. However, some of the general rules are listed below. Measurement shall be made for finished item of work, and description of each item shall include materials, transport, labor, fabrication tools, and pranks, and all type of overhead for finishing the work in required shape, size, and specification. In booking, the order shall be in sequence of length, width, height, or thickness. All work shall be measured subject to the following tolerance. Linear measurement shall be measured to the nearest of 0.01 meter. Area shall be measured to the nearest of 0.01 square square meter. Cubic content shall be worked out to the nearest of 0.01 cubic meter. Same type of work under different condition and nature shall be measured separately under separate item. And IS 1200 has 28 parts, and first part is earthwork, second one is concrete work, third one is brickwork, and etc. And the last topic is construction finishes. Finishing materials improve the appearance of buildings. There are different types of finishes and methods applied during the construction process of a house, residential, commercial building, or any type of building projects. First one is floor finish. A floor finish is a general term for a permanent covering of a floor. It is expected to protect and extend the life of the floor while providing an attractive appearance and slip resistant surface. Different types of flooring are wood, stone, tiles, cork, brick, glass, carpets, and rugs, etc. Plaster wall finishes. Finish given to the wall to enhance the exterior look of the structure. Plastering is the process by which core surfaces of wall or ceiling roofs are changed or turned or rendering to provide smoothness. At the beginning, wet materials are spread over the block or brickworks, and then suitable equipment is used to make the surface smooth and level. Types of plaster based on material used: lime plaster, cement plaster, and gypsum plaster. The main difference between cement plaster and gypsum plaster are: cement we can use cement plastering we can use for the exterior works and interior surface, but in gypsum we can only use for ceiling and interior walls, and it cannot be used for the toilet, kitchen, wash base. And cement can't be applied on smooth surface, but in gypsum smooth we can apply that in smooth as well as in rough surface. And in cement, we need curing is required, but for gypsum, no need of curing. And types of plaster finishes used in building construction are smooth cast plaster finish, rough cast plaster finish, sand faced plaster finish, pebble dash plaster finish, and cement plaster finish. Next one is brick masonry. Brick masonry is a very highly durable form of construction. It is constructed by placing a brick in mortar in such a systematic way to construct a solid structure that withstand applied burdens. Various types of bonds used in brick masonry are structure bond, header bond, English bond, and Flemish bond. Structure bond is the simplest bond is used and is often used in garden walls, etc. Header bonds. The header is the shortest face of the brick. So it's used in construction one brick thick wall. And English bond, alternative layers of the headers and structures are used, and it's a very difficult bond to get, and it will take lot of practice. Flemish bond. This is where alternative bricks are placed as header and structure in every course. Each header is placed centrally between the structure, immediately above and below to maintain even bond. Doors and windows. Doors may be defined as an openable barrier secured in a wall opening. It is provided to give an access to inside of a room. The function of window is to admit light and air to the building and to give a view to the outside. And these are different types of doors and windows. We can have, there is hinged doors, framed and panel doors, glazed doors, sash doors, flush doors, revolving doors, sliding doors, and fixed fixed window, pivoted window, double hung windows, sliding windows, casement windows, etc. And last topic is paint finishes. Paint is used to protect, preserve, decorate, or add functionality to an object or surface by covering it with a pigmented coating. For different surfaces, different types of paints from different companies are used. Some of the leading companies in India are Asian Paints, Nerolac, etc. Common interior paint finishes are flat matte, eggshell, pearl, star, and semi-gloss and high gloss. Thank you all, and I would like to thank all the trainers and Ashok sir, Deepa ma'am who gave us this opportunity. Thank you everyone.